So early stages capacitor leak. So early stage capacitor. I swear I'm breaking these for the dog. Hello and welcome to another Retro Crazy. Again, we're back looking at a Game Gear. This one I got recently from the brother of a very good friend of mine, so thank you very much, Liam. And it came with Putt and Putter, Krusty's Funhouse, Shinobi 2, and every Game Gear has to come with Sonic. This one's Sonic 2, Sonic and Tails. Now, this Game Gear isn't without its issues. First of all, we can see a small chip out the side of the case here. You can hear what sounds like bad things happening, but I can advise you that all the Phillips screws have been removed except for the game bit, but Liam was never able to get inside the Game Gear itself, because he didn't have the game bit. The contacts are nice and clean, so that's looking good. And the reason he wanted to get inside the Game Gear was because of this. It's all loose and just not sitting right and falling about. Yeah, it's kind of broken, so we're going to have to look at that as well. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my game bit, I'm going to open this up, lift out the three boards, and the usual, we'll need to do a recap. So let's get this open. Okay, with the main circuit board out, we can see the obvious telltale signs of capacitor leakage. Let me zoom in. So down here we can see obvious signs of furring as this capacitor has started leaking. Interestingly, these are still nice and shiny. These ones still look not too bad. Still shiny. Nope, some furring over here. So early stage capacitor leakage. Popping this to the side and having a look at why the buttons weren't working. This is completely broken all the way around. So there was no way to hold this down. It wasn't sitting properly. It was lifting too far up. Unfortunately, worse is it's also taken the pad with it, and that's going to need replaced because there's no way that's properly repairable, unfortunately. First things first, let's give this a clean up and let's replace these capacitors. So that's all the caps off. I didn't show it this time, I've done it a few times now, and there's your proof that you have a standard capacitor in a little shield that they can then glue down. So the ones that I certainly know have been leaking are here, here, and this one over here. The rest seem to have been reasonably okay, but you can see from the corrosion on this screw as well that it's been migrating and transferring everywhere, so all of this needs a good clean, which I'll do now, and I'll clean up the pads as well. So the board is now all clean and it's come up not too badly. All the pads are intact and I should be able to solder onto these without too much issue. So I'm going to swap over to a different tip on the soldering iron and then it's time to fit the caps. Now I've gone back to RetroSix. I've gone for their ceramic GameGear cap kit because that was ridiculously easy to do, and the other one's still working away. So I know there's a school of thought that says, you know, the ceramics could be a problem later on down the line, but yet to see it. But let's start popping these ceramics back where they need to go. So with the main board done, I can move on and we can look at the power and the soundboards. Okay, so I could drop it all back in the case, but I know I've got problems with a couple of things at the moment. For example, so until these are fixed or replacements turn up, there's nothing I can do just yet. However, what I can do is test. So I've got the speaker hooked up to the recapped soundboard. I've got the recapped power supply here connected up to my bench power supply, and I've got a copy of Shinobi 2. So first of all, I just want to see if I get a power, which I do, and I'm hearing a squeal from the speaker, so that's good. Okay, that's about the halfway point. That's about the halfway point. Let's drop this in, make sure nothing is going to short, and let's see what happens. I've got display. Okay, we have audio. Superb. Okay, looking at the monitor, you can't see anything. Okay, I'm going to switch the lights out so you can see this. Recapping has been a success. Everything seems to be running, and yeah, I've got a shell to fix. Or have I? Let's just say I decided when I got this that I was going to do something a little bit different. So it's been a week since I last recorded anything for this video because I was waiting for parts to turn up. Yeah, I may have gone a bit crazy. However, we know the GameGear had some issues, and some of those issues included we needed some new conductive pads, we had a broken button, so I've got some new buttons, we had a cracked case, so I've got a new case, and I've had some extras delivered because I thought, if I'm going this far, why not go the whole hog? So we're going to be using this lovely white case as our base. I've got a new lens for it. I thought about the white lens, but I thought that was maybe too much. Some nice mint coloured buttons. I've gone for RetroSix's Clean Juice, which will give us a nice pair of packs and a good battery life, but more importantly, it's also USB-C chargeable, an SD card flash gear for popping all the titles on, and then what's in the box, or what's in the packet. So what's in the packet is an IPS LCD screen, complete with fitting kit and adhesive to attach it. That is going to make a huge difference. This is going to be rather nice when it's finished. I'm not going to be using the VGA output, so I believe it's this cable can go, but we will be using T3 and T2. So first I think is going to be getting the case set up. Now I can immediately see that the case does need modified because it's not going to fit in. Right, well, first thing to go I think is going to have to be this post, so that this will slide up that little bit more. We may end up having to notch these posts, but we'll see. And there we are, that's that all cut. I took a lot more time than most people would because I want this to be fairly precise. It means that all these standoffs are still here. I've not cut everything, I've paired into them, and it's got a nice fit to it. It sits in nicely, it doesn't move about, so once the adhesive's in, that should be absolutely fine. So that's great. From here we can move on and we can look at the next part, which is actually going to be modifying the main board to take the new setup. So I grabbed what I believe is the correct set of instructions for the installation of this. Now you can go through this and it tells you what to remove because these parts are no longer needed, and that's fine, and that's a good way to do it because things like the tube and all the circuitry will draw a reasonable amount of current. That'll cut down the runtime of the GameGear if you leave it in. Interestingly, according to what I also found in the same thing, you can pretty much leave everything there if you wish. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop this off and we'll look at desoldering this ribbon cable. So that's all the remaining connectors done. Red to FB1, this isn't connected. I've just opted not to cut it off and just to tape it up and hold it down. Test point 10 here runs all the way up to test point 11. I've got pin 1 to 2, pin 2 to 3 on the adjust, and then according to the sheet, and here's hoping it's correct, here it is, I'm following the dual chip motherboard T10 to 11, and then if we follow what's here, pin 3 goes to C30, which it does. I've got green going to C29, which is here, which it does, and last C28 lower side, C28 lower side. So the theory is that's it all done. So all that's left is, well, to connect up the screen, the power and the audio and see if we get any output. So I've got the audio board and the power board hooked back up. I've got the negative already on, positives here ready. The screen is in nicely. Not only is the board marked 1 and 54, but the ribbon cable is clearly marked on it 1 and 54. So unless you can't read or can't match up symbols, you should be fine. I've got Shinobi ready, so let's slot that in. So this is either going to be working or a very short video, because if something goes fritz at this point, I'm looking at potentially a new motherboard and a new IPS system. So, interesting. I don't know if the power's on or not, so let's find out what happens. difficult to actually turn the screen like this. How am I going to do this? Didn't quite think this through. Okay, let's just switch on and see if we get anything, because I don't think it's come on. Can't even see the power LED, which is on the other side. There is no power LED at the moment, so let's find out. I get a power LED, so that bit's working. Let's try and turn this over without shorting anything out. No display. Is it contrast? No, I have no display at all. So after a little bit of checking, it appears that something is very wrong with this kit. You note I've taken the screen off because it suddenly dawned on me, if it's connected in this way and there's clearly marked pins 1 and 54, and it's clearly marked on the board, 1 and 54. If I actually connect it in the way it's supposed to, well, if I was to fold this round the board, that wouldn't be visible at the front. And the way it was, if I connected it in that way, the only way the screen can work is to block the cartridge port. Have I been sent the wrong screen? Maybe. I mean, the chances are it's already been damaged beyond recovery, unfortunately, but let's check. Well, we get a screen, and it does dim and brighten. I did connect the speaker. I'm just getting a constant whine, don't know if you can pick that up. So I have no idea if this GameGear is even salvageable now. So yeah, that's not great. Unfortunately, the kit for the IPS screen did not come from RetroSix. This is not a sponsored video, I'd hasten to add, because they were currently out of stock, so I sourced it from our friends in China. So I've checked all my connections here, they're all fine. I've double checked, and their instructions do say Q3 and Q4 remove, which are here, and it does tell you to remove them here. I've double checked that all of these resistors have been removed. The coil removed. Transistors at Q6 and Q2 wasn't fitted as standard. C32 and 33 capacitors were also removed. Removed the lamp and the fuses. Fuse is gone. So we've got a problem somewhere, and I think it's this kit, which is not great. I will contact the company and see if I can find out what's going on. Sorry it's a failure video, it's one of those things. I'll hopefully be able to revisit it at some point in the future, but in the meantime, thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, hit that big thumbs up button, and I'll see you on the next Retro Crazy.